What's up, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be showing you the number one Smartlead API endpoint that you have probably never used. Now, Smartlead has over 50 different endpoints, and a lot of them are super valuable. But the one I'm going to be showing you is one that gets missed out on by so many people. And so I want to shed some light to this endpoint. And so the first thing we're going to need is list all campaigns. This is going to display every single campaign that we have within our account. This is not the endpoint that we're talking about. This is just a requisite to get that one started. And so from there, we're going to paste that URL endpoint in this section over here. So this is an HTTP module for anyone unaware. And then we're simply going to input our API key, which can be found in the Smartlead settings. Now, once you've done that, you're going to leave the method as a get, parse response yes, and then this is going to output an array of every single campaign that you have within the account. And so as you can see, we've got a bunch of campaigns here. This includes subsequences, main sequences, everything, right? And so like if we were to open it, we would get a campaign with all of the different data about that specific campaign. Next up, what you want to do is you want to start to look at every one of those campaigns individually. And how we're going to do that is by using an iterator module. So the iterator is going to start to look through every single one of those campaigns individually. And so you simply paste your array over here. And then at this point, when we click run again, you will notice that the data is going to be outputted differently than it was previously. Cool. So now we can start to get into that URL endpoint that I was just talking about. And what this is going to allow us to do is essentially grab the leads from our campaigns. And so if we were to click on one of these campaigns, we're able to see a lead list section. And so in this lead list section, there's going to be tons and tons of different data that we can get about these leads, such as whether they replied, right? Whether they replied, we've got email status, opened, whether they opened, clicked, replied, unsubscribed, bounced, all of these different things that, by the way, we can create different analytics for, right? In addition to that, we might be able to create a different campaign that redirects all of these different users to, depending on which status they're in. We might also be able to do a whole bunch of other stuff, right? But let's get into the automation. The use cases are infinite. We'll talk about them. And by the way, what this acts as is this section over here. So download a CSV, but it allows us to do that automatically across every single one of our leads. So if you were to download this as a CSV, you would get a CSV of all of these leads, but that's what we're trying to do essentially. So we go back to the list all campaigns, and there's a few options to get that to happen. One of them is fetching a lead. So this is the lead management section, and as you can see, there's list all leads by campaign ID. Let's actually try this just for show to see like what this actually produces, right? And then we can get into the actual automation. And so boom, we're gonna use an HTTP module, do a make request, paste that URL over here. We're going to do a filter stating that the ID must equal this specific campaign so that we get the specific one that we can easily compare with. And then we input the campaigns dynamically, right? So if you've got 20, 30, 40, 50, hundreds and hundreds of of campaigns, you don't want to download as a CSV over and over and over, right? You want to be able to automate that whole process. And so this is going to help us accomplish that. And so this is one API endpoint that a lot of people use, but I'll show you why this one's not a really great one, and I'll show you an alternative for it. And by the way, there's a few of them that are like this. There's a few of them that are like this. And so, boom, let's do it. And so what this is going to do is fetch that campaign with 2,600 leads and then output 100 leads, right? So this is going to output 100 leads because the offset is 0 and the limit is 100, right? And obviously we're able to add information over here. And so for example, if we wanted the offset to be 100, and 1, right? And then have the limit be, I guess, 90. What this would do is it would look at all of those leads again, all of those 2,600 leads, and then start at number 100 and then end at 190, right? So that's what it's doing. That's essentially what it's doing, right? What you're not able to do, however, is set this limit to, let's say, 700, right? If I wanted 700 leads to be returned right back to me, we're not able to do that. And so what you would end up needing to do, as you can see, requests must be 100 or less. And there's a few different ones that we can use. As you can see, like there's many of these leads that we can use, but all of them face a very similar issue, which is limit of 100. And so how we would actually bypass this is using this URL endpoint right here, which is called export data from a campaign. Now, this is not even in the leads section, but what this is going to be outputting is leads from the campaign, right? And this is going to be a much better solution than the alternative, right? And that's probably why it gets missed, by the way, because it's in the campaign section, not the lead section, and so people tend to not realize that that's an option that they can use. And so let me pull up the URL endpoint over here. Let's get the API key, right? So we get the API key again, and then we get the campaign ID, same campaign ID that we previously had, and everything else stays the same. And by the way, this one, I'm going to remove all of this information. So I'm going to just leave it normal, right? Which is going to go from 0 to 100 essentially, right? And then we're going to click run. So when we click run, this is where you're going to notice there's a difference, and this difference needs to be addressed in certain ways, right? I've parsed response, I've done everything that I need to do, right? But when we look at the data is going to be outputted in this convoluted manner, and if you're not able to read it, you don't actually know what's happening, and you might think that this is a useless endpoint. But what this is a CSV file, right? This is a CSV. And so how we would actually be able to read that, we would have to use a CSV module. So CSV, and then we get a few options. The one we would want to use is parse CSV, and then I believe the number of columns is 22, but I could be wrong on that. And then the delimiter is going to be a comma. And by the way, we find the delimiter by checking what this says. As you can see, we've got a comma over here, we've got a comma. So what's in between the two quotation marks, right? And so 22, I think, is the number. This is that, and then the CSV is going to be this data right here. And so if we run this again, so run it again, we get the data, we go through all of that, and then what's going to be outputted is a CSV. And by the way, if we were to look at any of these individual 100 leads that we previously got over here, we're able to see that we get the lead data, such as their name, their email address, the company name, the website, the location. We also get the custom fields, right? All of these different custom fields that we had put in for the lead. This is what we get, but we're limited to 100 of them, right? And there's workarounds for this, by the way. You can use different I'm forgetting what they're called. Repeaters, I think, is what it's called, right? Where it repeats, but each time it repeats, it adds a 100 digits. So we go from 100 to 100 to 200, 200 to 300, 300 to 400, that type of thing, right? But this is not the way to go. This right here would be the way to go. So we've converted that into a CSV file, and look at all the data it gives us. It's the same as what we were just looking at over here, but this time around, we've got 2,641 leads. All of these right here that we can easily look through seamlessly, right? Without having to deal with anything, right? Like it's right here. All of them, right? And like we can actually, to save some operations, I'm going to show you guys some pro tips, because let's say you've got 50,000 leads. You don't want to go through 50,000 leads with 50,000 operations, right? So how you're going to save some operations is by using numeric aggregators, right? And so let's say, for example, we wanted to figure out, what do we want to figure out? The location, uh, I guess. What is column 19? Column 19 comes after 2. Let's see here. So column 19, ID category false completed. So so actually, another thing that you would need to do, you would need to like actually like because I don't think this checks for headers, right? Does it? Do we have a way to check for headers? No, we do not. Although I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. I'm just not thinking of. Actually, you know what? Let's look at the data, right? So the data starts with ID, campaign lead map status, campaign ID. Is this accurate? Or like, because that's weird. It just ends with a C. Where's the? I'm sure. I'm pretty sure there's a way to actually do that. And the way that I'm thinking about it is but it doesn't matter right now. We you would just map it. You like you could just IMAP it to get started. Um okay, so let's use an aggregator to do some quick stuff. That's the last thing I want to show you. So there's a few aggregators. There's a numeric aggregator. So if we wanted to figure out how many how many leads responded, we would use a numeric aggregator, right? If we wanted to figure out anything, let's use a let's use a text aggregator, right? Just for now, right? And let's figure out what country these leads are from. So if I wanted to figure out like in this campaign, what are all the countries that these leads are in? Is that your use case? I don't know. Doesn't matter. The point I'm trying to display here is how to simply save operations, and you would do that using uh aggregator, right? And so boom, we put United Kingdom over here, and then group by, well, uh we're just gonna leave it like this, and then we're going to run it. And so when we click run, this is going to output a long text of it's going to output a long text of countries, and then we would have to use a text parser to determine how many times that country occurs. And to be honest, I don't know what's happening. This is taking a while. But we would have to use a text parser to determine how many times that country pops up. We could also use AI ChatGPT to just like do it for us easily. So yeah, as you can see, United Kingdom, United Arab Emirates, Finland, United States, all of these, right? This is empty. And then it's going to output a very long text, right? So we go over here, and then this is the text, right? United Kingdom, United Arab Emirates, all of these, right? And in fact, you can probably comma separate it. So you would add a comma at the end over here. Actually, you wouldn't add it there. You would add it in the row separator. You would have it as an other, and then you would have the comma over here to ensure that the very last module does not, the very last text does not have a comma. Don't, who cares? That's just for future reference, right? So we get all of these countries, and then you can use a text parser to figure that out, or any other way. Honestly, doesn't matter. Use it however you want. The point is, this is one of the best API endpoints that people don't use, and I hope you start using it. I hope you learned something, and I hope you find this valuable. Anyways, thanks for the time, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Cheers.